Good morning, everybody. It's the 21st of October, 2023, and I hope your weather is a lot better than our weather over here. Weather. It's rainy, it's cold and windy. I think the German word is like Sier. There's a word for cheese, and the word for bad weather, I think, which means damp, actually. It's about the same word, so it's, I don't know if I have the difference yet figured out. So, but let's get into what's going on here now. We're watching what's going on, as you all very well know, in Israel and Palestine area. And it seems that the Israelis, they never learned that the best way to defeat your enemies is by making them your friend. And of course, that's the whole reason for this problem, what's going on right now in Israel, because they never really learned that. And of course, the United States apparently never learned that anyway either. But I guess that's not the objective. The objective is, of course, to dominate, to try to get everything. And then you have to realize that there are two different interests going on here. The politicians are not there for the interests of the people. The politicians are there for the interests of whoever gets the big money people, that give them the money to run for political offices. So that's who they're beholden to. They're not beholden to the people, only when it comes time to vote. And if that's even legitimate, your guess is as good as mine. Most of the time, I don't think it is. But as they say, or at least Benjamin Franklin said, democracy is two wolves and one sheep deciding on what is for dinner. So anyway, most of this stuff is a sham anyway. I just saw something from Tucker Carlson, and he was talking about a lot of the big lies that have been going on for quite some time. And what he was mostly talking about was the George Floyd sort of a deal, and what the autopsy said. And Tucker Carlson, I believe, I have to say I believe because I never saw it, I believe he made an episode of what the real cause of George Floyd's death was. And it was not somebody putting their knee in the person's neck. As despicable as that looked, and apparently was, that's not how he died. And I'm not allowed to say how he died and what the circumstances are, because then I'll be deleted as well. But just realize that that's not exactly what happened. Not at all. And this Derek Chauvin, this policeman, he's got to spend the rest of his life in jail for a murder he did not commit. So let's just end it at that. And there's a lot of other lies going on, as you know. Ukraine is winning the war. I think he mentioned that. And on and on. Even a lot of this stuff about the Hamas viciously killing children and burning babies and beheading babies. The other one they showed was this, apparently, I don't know if there was some little puppy dog on something, and then they put some burnt sort of a thing on there, and then they tried to say, oh, no, that wasn't, we looked at it very carefully and it was not doctored. That is actually a real photograph with the, and the dog is the fake part of it. And then somebody else looked at it, and then they found out that really that was the fake. So that was fake. There's just too much fake stuff going on, and all this information is coming out anyway. It's like when they bombed the hospital. Right away they said 500 people, and then it went up to 900 people, and then it went down to 451 people, and then it went over to said, oh no, they bombed the parking lot and not the hospital. And then of course they're saying, Hamas is the ones that actually bombed it, a misfired rocket, And I don't even think we have gotten down to the real truth yet. And then there's this church that was bombed, supposedly, and Israel, and I believe that might be somewhat more accurate, because they at least did show us some footage on that one. They didn't have the footage of when they bombed the hospital. They said they have it. They have proof, but they never showed it to anybody. And even Putin is saying, well, show us the proof. And they just don't seem to want to be able to come up with the proof. And then I think it was Lavrov saying, well, you guys have satellite imagery. Well, show it to us. Talking about the United States, I guess. Anyway, we haven't seen any proof, but they say they have it. In other words, they don't have it. But they have some sort of proof about bombing this church, and apparently they were trying to bomb some building next to it. And of course, I believe it destroyed the whole church. Yeah, and then this church is is a precious relic that goes back to the time of the Crusades, built by the Crusaders back in the old days. I don't know, whatever century that was. Yes. Also in some news, Germany and the UK said they will never, ever again, they'll never again get any fossil fuels from Russia. But the UK really never did anyway. I think they said 8% of their natural gas or whatever came from Russia, and not the same with Germany. It was 45%. The EU, I guess they were getting 40%, overall from Germany. From Russia. Hope I didn't say Germany before, but I'm trying to go fast. I never have any time anymore, so sorry about that. But anyway, they pledged that. They said never, and you know the expression, never say never. I can bet at some point in the future, Germany again will be getting gas and probably oil from Russia. As a matter of fact, they're getting 10% right now. They just don't want to talk about it. So, and as you know, since they're getting their, instead of getting the natural gas, they're getting liquid natural gas, LNG, from the United States. And I believe the price is like 3 times more. And that also reminds me, Hungary, they get their natural gas from Russia, so to speak, but it's by the lower branch of the Druzhba pipeline, which goes through Ukraine. And I guess Ukraine has quadrupled the price of this gas, going through that pipeline into Hungary. So they're paying a lot more for gas. But Hungary at least admits that they are dependent upon Russian gas. So that's about as far as I want to say about that. But when you're talking about Israel and what's going on there, it's really important, actually, because this tells you everything. When you talk about the real history of why this conflict is even going. And I said at the beginning, you can defeat your enemy the best by making them your friend. But if you go back in time and you look into the Balfour Declaration is one thing, as well as the Sykes-Picot agreement. And they were both happening about the same time, essentially around the year 1917. And it was towards the end of World War I. And there's a lot of things that are sort of deleted from history about that. And I'll get into that a little bit if I don't lose track of what's going on. Pull a Biden on you, a Joe Biden, and forget what I'm talking about. But like I said, both of these issues were going on at the same time. The Sykes-Picot agreement, I believe on the British side, it was a guy named Mark Sykes, and on the French side, it was François-Georges Picot. You can look it up, S-Y-K-E-S, Sykes, Picot, P-I-C-O-T. And I'm not sure if all the information is accurate, what you're going to probably find online. You can probably find it somewhere where things would not have been deleted. We're living in the age of cancel culture, and everything has been changed. And you don't find the truth. Some truths are omitted. That's why I was always saying, keep your old books, because they're rewriting history as time goes by. And I guess now they're trying to say that Russia was on the side of Nazi Germany in World War II. Yeah. Ukraine has changed history drastically, and they've embellished it quite a bit. I always talk about that. I always mention that they claim that they built the pyramids of Egypt. They dug the Black Sea with their bare hands, the ancient Ukrainians. They rode dinosaurs, and I guess there's lots more, but that's all that I know of at the present time. And Mike Jones, now he's been, of course, deleted from YouTube, not because of that, but because he was telling other truths. Just like Jackson Hinkle, like I said in the last time, you don't get deleted for telling the truth. For telling lies. You get deleted for telling the truth from YouTube. And Mike Jones, I guess, while he's doing charity work in the Donbass, they found school books that showed all of this fake stuff. But I heard about it even before that. They've been teaching people like that for a long time in the Ukraine, and from children. There are men walking around, men fighting in this war that they were trained, or they were so far miseducated when they were children, to the point that all of the problems of Ukraine, they were told, was caused by Russia. And all of this stuff, it's just incredible when you hear about, they said that this Holodomor, oh, that was the Russians starving the Ukrainians. Forget the fact that there were more Russians in places dying from starvation during those years than there were even in Ukraine. But oh, it was Russia doing it on purpose to the Ukrainians. You know, and it was the Great Depression in the United States around that same time. But I'm not completely up on all that history myself, so, but you can all find out, and you just get the gist of it right now. Yes, and along with all of this, you talk about that bombing that church. I believe now, officially, just within the last days, I think it was just last week, they have replaced the Orthodox Church of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and now it is called the Orthodox Church of Ukraine instead of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. And of course, the one they have now, the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, was established not by the church itself. It was established by the CIA, literally by the CIA and Petro Poroshenko, who was at that time the leader of Ukraine. So they just created a new church to disown Russia from that church. So, to get rid of that. But anyway, I'm going back. Like I said, I told you I'd get off on a tangent. I was supposed to be talking about the Sykes-Picot Agreement. And this was a lot of times where it was Great Britain. Well, first off, the Sykes-Picot Agreement, that was where France and Great Britain, they divided up all those lands in the Middle East amongst themselves. Like, you get this part and we get that part. And it was a secret agreement. It was Mark Sykes and Francois Picot. They're the ones that came up with this agreement, and then it went to their respective governments, and they signed off on it. And I believe it became active in sometime, I think it was April 1917, where it became active, an official agreement that they divided all these lands up. And at the same time, what was going on was the Balfour Declaration. It was Lord Balfour. I can't remember his first, James Balfour, and he wrote a letter to Lord Rothschilds. Hey, where have we heard that name before? The Rothschilds. So he wrote a letter, and what it was, and it was a very short letter, and I guess you can find it online, and it says, it's so bad that the Jewish people don't have a homeland, so let's establish part of what was called then Greater Syria, but part of Greater Syria was a place called Palestine. So they gave part of Palestine, which was, over the bigger picture was Greater Syria, which might have also even been a creation of that time. So Syria was a really, really big place, and that was supposed to be the land where they were going to, let all the Arabs go there. And that part of that agreement was that the Arabs helped the British defeat the Ottoman Empire, and in exchange for that, they got control over this area called Greater Syria. So, and then in the meantime, we have the Balfour Declaration that I was just talking about, and this was this letter written by Lord Balfour, sent to, gosh, I shouldn't be getting into all this stuff, it's probably boring everybody, sent to Rothschilds, Lord Rothschilds, and they said, oh, well, we feel so sorry. So this is what you get the impression of, and what the letter wants you to believe. We feel so sorry for the Jewish people, so let's give them a little portion of that, which it was, and it wasn't supposed to be all of the great area that you see now. It was supposed to be a small portion of that they could use as a homeland. But that's not all, and what is probably deleted from most of the places in the internet, there was actually another agreement going on besides that between Lord Balfour and Zionists, and of course this was also a secret agreement, and Lord Rothschild was also in on this. But what this was is, as the war was raging on, in order to get they wanted to get the United States in the war on the side of the Allies and not on the side of Germany, which believe it or not, it was kind of like iffy. And you can go back to the Lusitania and the Sussex when the United States was running guns to England at that time, on passenger ships, which was strictly illegal, and that was the beginning of the days of submarines, and the submarines sank some of these passenger ships and they put out ads in the papers, in the New York Times, I think it was New York Times, it was in New York anyway, it says, don't take these ships. The Germans paid for ads and said, don't be taking these ships because they're running guns. And the United States was saying, oh, no, we're not, no, we're not. England, no, we're not, no, we're not. And of course, as you know, they found out that they were running guns, lots of guns and weapons, ammunition to the British on passenger ships. So, and the Germans knew this. So anyway, that's why the ships were sank. And that was part of the thing too, but that's what we were told was the only reason why the United States joined the war, but it was also a lot to do with the Jewish community, the Zionists, and even this gun running. This was also involved, believe it or not, with Zionist Jews. So it's all a bunch of sneaky stuff. It's really a fascinating history. You got to really look into it, and not everything is known. I think some of this, I don't even know. That's not the right book. I don't even know where you can get that anymore. And then, again, you may not even find the books unless you go to some university library and find some very old books. But the agreement was that the Jews would get the Americans into the war on the side of the British in exchange for getting that land in Palestine, which was, greater Syria at that time. So that's about all that's wrapped into that sort of a thing. So look that up yourself so you can find out that's the real cause of why they're having all these problems right now. Great Britain basically sold land that didn't belong to them to Zionists like that. And then, of course, they got control of all the best places where the water sources are, and so they can control the water. And there's some books by Leon Uris, and you can find out a lot about that in these novels, even though he's pro-Israeli, so but a lot of the truth is in there anyway. Okay, now some really crazy stuff, as you know as well. Joe Biden, he's giving he's trying to give $100 billion. It's not approved by Congress yet. You would think it's not going to be approved because the last money going to Ukraine was stopped, but now he wants even more money. He wants $100 billion, and $60 billion of that is supposed to be going to Ukraine, and apparently maybe $40 billion is supposed to be going to Israel. So they're trying to make a bill that's looks like it's to help Israel, where you'll definitely get enough people to support it in Congress, and at the same time most of it is actually going to be going to Ukraine. So they haven't given up on that. And then in the meantime, after all this stuff started in Israel and Palestine, and I was saying they would use this as a diversion, and they did use it as a diversion. So at the meantime, they were giving them these attack missiles, and they gave them some more money besides that. So Zelensky was pretty happy about that. So that they were using that as cover, as a diversion, to help out Ukraine. So they haven't given up on Ukraine yet. So everybody's saying that Ukraine is being, what do they say, look like a poor stepchild or something like that, and getting cast out. It's not really the case. Obviously, this $60 billion. You realize that his normal allowance was every 2 weeks. He was getting like 325 million or 350 million every 2 weeks. But now they're trying to give him in one shot $60 billion. Thank you, American taxpayers. Jeez. Actually, everybody has to pay. As I say, we have the U.S. has the world's reserve currency, which in effect makes the entire world actually have to be paying for all these wars. That's why they can just fork out this money everywhere at any time they want to. And as you heard Janet Yellen and Joe Biden, sure, we can afford 2 wars. We can afford sending money to the Israelis to blow up Palestine, and Ukraine to fight the Russians, kill the Russians. But don't be surprised if that money gets approved. So you have Joe Biden And people like Lindsey Graham saying what a great investment this is because Americans aren't dying. But I'll tell you what, in a way it's going to turn out where Americans are going to die from them sending billions of dollars out there. Gosh, incredible stuff. People walking by here. But what they don't tell you, and they say, oh, well, we don't want to see all these deaths. But the reason why a lot of people are getting killed is because they're sending all this friggin' money there, If Israel was not getting all this money, they would not be doing this all this time to the Palestinians. They would have been forced to make friends with them. It's the same thing with Ukrainians and the Russians, as you all know. If they wouldn't have been packing them, up to their eyeballs with weapons this whole time, and then furthering this Nazi ideology since after World War II, starting mostly in that area, Lvov and all, that's where Bandera comes from, and then they just keep on feeding this and feeding this. They did it after World War II, the United States, they kept this going. They calmed it down and then kept it going, and of course at some point in time they realized, hey, we can Nazify these people and get them to kill the Russians for us, so we don't have to do it. And that's obviously what's happening. That's what it's all about. So Russia has got their hands full thinking they're going to get rid of Nazism, denazification. And of course now that it's spread into the Baltic states and Poland and the United States, and it's even back into Germany too. You hear there's a lot of Germans coming out and saying they want to just kill the Russians. They're the Russians are the new Jews. There's another thing that actually makes me curious is we're looking at China, and then you have the Biden administration and the Democrats, trying to act like they're trying to make a war going with China on the one hand. And then you have, actually I should be talking about mostly this it's like the World Economic Forum. The Democrats are really wrapped up in the World Economic Forum, and they seem to love the Chinese ways, all that sort of thing. The Republicans talk about like hating the Chinese. So it's kind of strange. And yet the Bidens, they also want to provoke China. So I'm just kind of confused on, do they like China or do they not like China? So it's all from a bias. They say that the World Economic Forum says they love China, and then they say it sometimes that China's the enemy. In my observation, the Chinese people, they're not oppressed. I don't know if that's what they're trying to say, the Republicans, that they're oppressing the Chinese people. I found it oppressive when they locked them inside, especially in, what was that, in Shanghai, about all this COVID stuff, Don't get me on COVID. And of course they're trying to say how evil China is, they want to take over the world and all this, but I guess, what about the United States? Who's trying to take over the world here? Actually, who does more for the world? Who's doing more investments, building infrastructure all over the world more? Is it the United States or is it China? That's not very difficult to figure out, isn't it? Belt and Road and everything about China. It's based on your bias. And I've met a lot of Chinese people, and they all love China. I'm sure that about 95% or even more. I don't know. It's just so much brainwashing going on. It depends on which direction you're brainwashed, I suppose. And I guess we're all subject to it. And a lot of time when you start to realize you're getting fake information, then you're probably also getting brainwashed at the same time. Then you got to stop and then try to find out what the real facts are yourself. So actually, that's about all I have to say for this moment. I did make a video yesterday. It sucked, so I didn't use it. And I'm using this one now. This is the area I'm in if you want to take a look. I'm going to get some things at a store here that it's based in Russia. But of course they have Belarusian things in that store and Russian things in that store, but it's like a discount place. But there's some things you can't get much anywhere except for in that store. So, and this one's a little bit bigger one than the one in my area, so I came here. And that's about all I have for today. I thank you all for joining me, and I hope to see you on the next one very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.